The Mustang Summit is an educational program to introduce the public to all of the amazing things you can do with Mustangs. We would like to introduce you to our experts who can help you learn how to set yourself and your Mustang up for success. From where to get your Mustangs, to where you can show your Mustangs, to where Mustangs can go for sanctuary if they cannot make it out of Oldham. We would like to thank you for joining us today. Please visit us at our booth or at our website, themustangsummit.com. Now let's welcome our riders and their Mustang mounts. With the branded Mustangs, Gus and Jewel are Patrick and Carrie Gobert. Pat and Carrie adopted their first Mustang in 2015 at the Extreme Mustang Makeover, and they now have 3 of their own. They enjoy camping, trail riding, and liberty work, and they find that their Mustangs enjoy these activities just as much as they do. They are here to remind you the American Mustang is perfect for any age person. With patience and trust, you can do this too. Next, we have Erica Engel, riding Moira. Proud owner Kelsey Zelski brought Moira through the TIP program. After the TIP trainer got her home, she realized Moira was holding a surprise. Moira was in foal. She was quickly rehomed and gave birth to a copycat filly just a month later. After weaning her foal, Moira was started under saddle with trainer Erica Engel in Germantown, Ohio. Moira's favorite activities include long trail rides, showing in the ranch classes at local shows, and of course, lots of treats. For our final mounted pair, we have Mary Miller-Jordan and Magic. Mary Miller-Jordan and her Mustang partners got their start in the Extreme Mustang Makeovers. They won multiple reserve championships and ultimately became the AFTH National Champion, which led to Miss Miller-Jordan's wild horse partner, Lindsay's Faith, being immortalized as a Breyer model. Inspired by the Mustangs, Miss Miller-Jordan and her husband founded I Am Heard Mustang Sanctuary with the mission to be a safe space for rescued wild horses and those that love them. She loves supporting horses and their humans through her connection clinics and supporting all horse lovers, not just horse owners, through I Am Heard, birthing and rewilding retreats in the Mustangs, with the Mustangs on the sanctuary in Kelly, North Carolina. A round of applause, please, for the Mustangs and riders. Today, the Mustang Experts Panel will be presenting Training the Mustang, different approaches to set the Mustang up for success in a variety of disciplines. Now let's hand it off to Lisa and the Mustang Experts Panel.
Hi, thank you so much. And thank you to our horses and riders and our panelists today. So what we're going to do is try to give you a walkthrough. You want to have a Mustang. What is the process? What do you do to get them? How do you work with them? Where can we show them? How can we highlight what they do? What are the other modalities that people do with Mustangs? How do they help us with mental health and veterans programs? We're going to give you a really good insight with these experts. And when I say experts, I mean this is as good as it's going to get with the people who know what they know about their place in the Mustang world. And so you want a Mustang. Who do you contact? What do you do? Can you go out on the range and round it up and bring it home? No. The Bureau of Land Management is our doorway into Mustang ownership. And so to kick it off, we're going to introduce Heather Teal Nelson, who is our BLM expert, and she's going to walk you through the process of getting your first Mustang. And hopefully we're going to take you on down the road for the next hour. And I hope you enjoy this journey and enjoy watching our Mustangs perform behind you. Thank you, Lisa.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you, and I feel really thankful to be here. My name is Heather Teal Nelson, and I'm a public affairs specialist for the Bureau of Land Management, actually in the Twin Falls District in Idaho. I'm also Idaho's public affairs lead for whenever we conduct our wild horse gathers and our adoptions. And I've been doing that since about 2009. So I'm gonna, before I launch into adoption requirements and things like that, I'm gonna lay a little groundwork for why the BLM manages wild horses and burros on our public rangelands. And it starts clear back in 1971 when wild and free roaming horses and burros received federal protection. Congress passed that law unanimously, and they said, hey, BLM, Forest Service, we want you to manage these animals in balance with other uses that occur on public rangelands in the West. And we need you to do it where those animals were found. And they were found in 10 western states, and about that time there were about 25,000 wild and free roaming horses and burros on our public rangelands. Guess what we figured out pretty quickly? A wild horse herd can double in size every 4 years because they really don't have any natural predators that keep their numbers in check. So they don't eat themselves out of house and home and starve to death. There's nothing that I hate seeing more than a skinny horse coming in off the range during the gather. We gather up the excess animals and we offer them for adoption. Since that time, we've placed over 300,000 wild horses into private care. Today, there are 73,000 wild horses on our public rangelands. That's still more than the range can sustain. So, we've got another 68,000 that we're feeding off the range, to the tune of about 101 million. So that's what makes you, how many of you have adopted a wild horse or burro? Oh my word, look at all of those hands. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so grateful for you. We are so grateful for our partnerships. Okay, now that I've kind of given you that background, what happens when we gather those animals and then we're going to offer them for adoption? We bring them in, we freeze mark them, give them their registration number essentially, we vaccinate them, we deworm them, and then we offer them for adoptions really all across the United States. So you can come to an event, we have a host of events that are occurring in the Midwest and the East. Again, I'm from Idaho, so I'm probably a little more familiar with those events that occur on our western boundaries. But also we have this awesome tool called our online corral. And if you like to online shop, that's a great way to check out a wild horse or burro that's available. But guess what? We want to make sure that that animal is going to a good home. So you need to show that you actually have the appropriate facilities. And that depends on the age of the horse that you're going to adopt. I can't tell you how many times, well, it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes we get calls that, hey, I just got my newly adopted wild horse home and she's traveling down the road because she escaped. So, if you're going to adopt a horse that's over the age of 2, your facility needs to be at least 6 feet high. It needs to be panel or wood, no barbed wire, no hot wire. We want this to be a good, safe facility, at least 400 square feet. Younger than 2, 5 feet. Burros, 4.5 feet. You're going to apply. We're going to approve your application. You're going to sign a private maintenance and care agreement that tells us you're going to take good care of that animal. But we're going to hold on to that title to that animal for a year because we want to make sure that you are indeed taking good care of that animal, and we're going to check. We do a compliance check before you apply for title to that animal. And can anybody tell me, it was one of our questions over in the booth, how long do we hold on to that title? 1 year, that's exactly right. Those are kind of the basics to our adoption program. We also have the sale authority program if you're interested in receiving title right away on an animal that has been passed over for adoption more than 3 times, I should say, you can receive title immediately. Our adoption fee is $125. What we have found, our adopters, is, everybody's in love with that idea. Not everybody. A lot of people are in love with that idea of having a piece of the American West, and they may not have the horsemanship skills. They've never really been around a wild animal. So this is where our training programs are so awesome and really help us help our adopters be more successful. So I think there'll be a time for questions. But anyway, I'm going to turn this over to our awesome partners, Forever Brandon and Scooters and Stacy Zimmerman, and they're going to talk about these options.
Thank you, Heather. First of all, I want to do a big thank you to Equine Affaire for having the Mustang Summit and all the Mustang booths and panels here. It's pretty neat that they're embracing a piece of our American history. I want to thank Lisa Pearson and Equus Film Festival for getting us involved in this, and a big thank you to the Bureau of Land Management, because we wouldn't be here without y'all and these amazing horses. So I'm Ann Souders. I'm with Forever Branded. We're a nonprofit that is partnering with the Bureau of Land Management, and we have a booth over here with plenty of handouts and everything. We'd love you to come by and talk with us. But we are creating and fostering community through education, engagement, and adoption, one wild horse and girl at a time. Now, I want to tell you one thing that's really cool. My Mustangs that I've adopted never once asked me how old I was. They never said, what kind of car do you drive? What's your address, Ann? Where do you live? Actually, I live in Paradise, Texas, so it's pretty cool to say I'm bringing home a piece of history to Paradise. So anybody can adopt a wild Mustang over the age of 18 that's an adult. But in our programs we have, that Stacy is going to talk about, you can be 8 years old to 100 to do our programs. So you bring honesty and commitment and care to these wild horses, I will guarantee they will change your life. And we are here to help you through Forever Branded, because we are named what we are. We believe in this program, we believe in the horses, and all of us up here on this panel, we have got to see wild horses change your life. That's pretty amazing. So I'm going to turn it over to Stacy, and she's our director over events and the adoptions, and she's going to tell you how you can get involved in our program.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for coming and listening to all of these fabulous people that have their hearts in the right spot. My name is Stacy Zimmerman. We started Forever Branded about a year ago now, and we have basically developed some programs that will work in the future for everyone. We have youth programs, we have adult programs, we have riding programs. We have different events that we offer that you get to go and adopt a Mustang at an adoption weekend. Then you get to train that animal for approximately 120 to 45 days, and then you get to come back and compete with us. We call those events branded bonanzas. This year we have one in Idaho, one in Nebraska, and one in East Texas. We also are hoping next year to maybe have one here in Ohio. That would be pretty dang cool for all of us and hopefully all of you. If we were to have an event here in Ohio, and it would be an in-hand event to start with, hopefully a riding event, let's see a raise of hands of who would want to adopt a Mustang and maybe compete in that. I have a few. All right. There you go. I love that. So that is something that we would really like to do. We're trying to get animals over here on the East Coast because, of course, on the West Coast, we can go to many states, go get animals and train them and compete with them. Right now, currently, we are in the process with Forever Branded of continuing to open what we call adoption centers. What those are satellite places where you can go and adopt a Mustang. We currently are in the process of opening one up here in Ohio. We are opening one up in Florida. We have opened up Texas, and we have opened up Arizona. So currently, we're still in the process of funneling through the applications that we have, trying to get more places over here on the East Coast so you guys have some options for animals. I know that BLM often has adoption weekends in different states. I believe New Hampshire was this weekend, correct? So there was an adoption there. So the BLM is working really hard to get animals over here. Our foundation is working really hard to help the BLM and have a consistent place for you to go to get those animals. The other event that we have, or the other program that we have, is our branded partnership. What that is a group of trainers in all different areas. We're still actually processing applications, and some of my board over here are actually applied for and will become partnerships here soon. But that program is set up to where, say you, sir, want to get a wild Mustang. You've never trained a wild horse in your life. So you would like to have somebody help you get that horse gentle enough to where you can take it home and be safe. What that would happen then is you could either go with your trainer, or you could go to the BLM and you could ask them, can I have a list of local trainers that could help me? They would then give you a list. You could pick out your horse that you like, and you could contact that trainer and see if they're willing to go ahead and help you get it gentle under our program. That would be called the brand partnership. That would create the scenario to where you could get that same $125 horse that Heather was talking about, actually gentled enough to where you could get it home and be safe with it. You would pay nothing other than $125, and we actually pay the trainer for their time. So we pay them, it's a minimum of 30 days. We say we'd like to see it done in 90 days, but if that animal needs more time, they just have to let us know, and they get as much time as the animal needs. The importance for us in the Mustangs and the burros to have the time that's needed for them to acclimate to the new life that they're going to be experiencing is extremely important. So we offer that for whatever the time span is that the horse tells us that it needs. So those are the two programs, or the three programs really, that we're offering right now. Branded Bonanzas, which is where you get to adopt and compete. The adoption centers, which is where you get to go shopping, kind of like Heather's window shopping on the internet, and have Amazon delivered for you. You would be able to go and pick up and see these different animals, almost like you're going to the corrals, but just a smaller satellite facility. And then the branded partnership, which is where you would be able to get help with the training and actually get a gentle horse.
So that gets you your horse. Now you want to take that horse out and show him off. We're going to let Matt Monroe tell you what to do next.
So I'm Executive Director of Mustang Champions. We are a nonprofit. We have grants for two programs. One is an educational program, and I don't know if you have been over to the Wild Horse and Burro booth and maybe put on the VR headset and read some facts and figures about what's going on with our Mustangs on and off the range. But that's one of our, we have 5 of those kits that we ship across the country to help educate people about Mustangs. And I have a question. Who here does not own a horse? Raise your hand. Here's the reality. You pay taxes to the government. Oh, you're a horse owner. So this is why we need to help educate people about our horses and the care that is needed and what the Wild Horse and Burro program is doing on their behalf. The other program that we have a grant for is to create 2 national Mustang competitions. One of the competitions is Western Discipline. It's in South Point Arena, Las Vegas. We had our first competition last July. We are getting ready for this year to have our second. Top prize is $50,000, $125,000 total purse, money in every class. The reason we did that was to help encourage people that would not normally compete with the Mustang to come into the Mustang community. And the more exposure we get for having these Mustangs in premier venues, it adds worth to Mustangs, what they're capable of doing, and how great they can be as a companion or a champion. Our second competition is an English discipline competition. It is at Rolex Stadium in Kentucky Horse Park. And I don't know if you've ever been there. It is an international venue. When I was there a year ago, it was a training, qualifying competition for the Olympics. The idea that Mustang horses get to be showcased in Rolex Stadium makes me very, very proud. Very proud, because they deserve it. For both competitions, again, same prize money in what we're calling the Mustang Classic in Kentucky. For both of these competitions, if you want to compete, you adopt between October 1st and our deadline is next week, April 15th. What we're trying to do is give people the opportunity to select their own Mustang and then have as much time as possible to train for competition. So if you were to pick up your horse, the adoption date in October, that would give you about 9 months to train for the Western competition and almost a year to train for the English competition. The Western competition is ranch riding, trail, and reining pattern for the qualifying classes and their freestyle finals. The English competition is dressage, show jumping, and working equitation. And I don't know if you're terribly familiar with it, I'm learning quickly. But it's kind of a combination of dressage and trail over obstacles. And again, for the English competition, the finals is freestyle. And I don't know if you've seen any Mustang competitions in the past with freestyle competitions, but it's amazing what people can do with music, props. Past competitor right here, I will tell you. It's just fun to watch and then see he gets to walk away with $50,000. So if you can't come compete, come watch. We're trying to make them as entertaining as we can. The venues are spectacular. Yeah, come watch some really talented Mustangs.
All right, so now are you excited? Does that kind of give you a little bit of excitement? We still have other ways that if you have your Mustang, you can ride and be with groups and compete. But let's say, what else is there with Mustangs? The Mustang that can't compete or that doesn't have that opportunity to make that transition from wild to mild. What is there for those horses? And we're going to let Scott Beckstead, who is with the Wild Mustang Refuge, tell you a little bit about his program.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm Scott Beckstead, Chief Equine Programs Director for the Wild Animal Sanctuary, which owns and operates the Wild Horse Refuge in northwestern Colorado. At 30,000 acres, we are the largest wild horse refuge in the United States. Our mission is to help those horses that don't have the good fortune of being adopted by good homes. As we speak, our team is at a BLM wild horse adoption event in Greeley, Colorado, and I just got word that there are 15 horses who did not receive any bids, and there were no takers for them. The BLM is transferring those 15 horses to us. They will be transported to our wild horse refuge, and they will be turned out where they will live the rest of their lives wild and free to the life that they are accustomed to. It's pretty awesome. And you know, I get asked, you know, what about the situations involving a horse that's been adopted through the adoption program that just isn't suitable as a saddle horse or a companion. We do have a number of horses who come to us through those kinds of situations. In fact, our most recent arrival was a guy named Pistol. This is a horse from the Eons East Douglas Wild Horse Herd Management Area in Colorado. He's a middle-aged horse. He was, born and grew up on the range. He was a band stallion. And a very, very nice lady adopted Pistol, spent 18 months every single day working with Pistol, brought in professional trainers, but he made it clear from day one he was not on board with domestication. So she called us, and because he's a Colorado-born wild horse, we said, bring Pistol and we'll give him a home. Pistol is in our corrals right now, getting fattened up and getting healthy. And when I get back, I get to watch Pistol be turned out onto 30,000 acres. He is going to find members of his herd that he hasn't seen for 3 to 4 years. Those are the moments I live for, my friends. Those moments, watching those horses go back out. That when you see in their eyes that they're finally getting it, that, oh my gosh, this is real, I'm free again. And then when they see those friends and family members that they last saw years ago, it's absolute magic. So we love to see the wild horses go to good people, and we are there to help the horses that don't have that good fortune. We're especially interested in providing an outlet in Colorado for those sale authority horses. These are the horses that have been passed over in previous adoption events. Very often they are older animals like Pistol, and those are the horses that can be sold without limitation, so they're at the greatest risk of landing in the wrong hands, and we want to make sure that we are there for those animals. And so a good portion of our population of wild horses at the Wild Horse Refuge are middle-aged older animals, and they get to live out the rest of their lives out on the open range. We are 30 minutes from the Sandwash Basin Wild Horse Herd Management Area, one of the most popular and beloved herds in the United States. So we have several Sandwash Basin horses on the Wild Horse Refuge. These horses are absolutely tough as nails. This is the climate and the topography that they were raised on, that they grew up on. So they are totally at home out there on the range. And it's hard to just, to describe just how vast 30,000 acres is, but it is literally horizon to horizon that these horses have to run. We also take our conservation responsibility very seriously. We monitor the range to make sure that it stays healthy, to make sure that our operation is sustainable. Our wild Mustangs share the range with hundreds of mule deer, hundreds of pronghorn, elk, coyotes, golden eagles, bald eagles, jackrabbits, prairie dogs, ground squirrels, crickets. I could go on and on. But what we are showing, what we are proving, is that wild horses are an essential part of the Western landscape, that they coexist and are critical to these ecosystems. And if you're ever in northwestern Colorado, whether you're there to go skiing at Steamboat or you're just passing through, by all means reach out to us. We can schedule a tour. I promise you, I guarantee you, you will go out onto the range, you will see these wild horses living a wild horse life, you will see mingled herds of mule deer, pronghorn, and Mustangs all enjoying this sort of easy familiarity. It'll blow your mind, and it's a remarkable place. What we're trying to show is that this is an example, this is an alternative for wild horses that don't make it into the adoption program, and our hope is that people see what we're doing and replicate this model in other states where there are wild horse populations. So look us up at wildhorserefuge.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We do not get any sort of public assistance or grants of any kind. We rely solely on the donations of people who appreciate us and who love our mission. So thank you so much, and make sure to come by 104 in the Breaker Building, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay, so that takes you on a little bit of a journey from getting a horse out of the corral, that if it doesn't work out, sanctuary, not taking them to a sale barn and selling them to where we don't know where they end up. Sanctuary is the answer. So now, what are some of the programs that are around for Mustang horses that benefit the community, benefit our veterans, benefit prisoners and at-risk youth? Amanda Held is here with Hooves. She's a Ohio-based veterans program, and she's going to tell you about the work that they do, and hopefully you'll have some family members or friends that you can send her way.
Thank you, Lisa. How many veterans do we have in the audience today? Awesome. Thank you for your service. How many people in the audience today know a veteran? Pretty much everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And how many of you that know a veteran who's struggling? Quite a few. Well, in 2003, when I got out of active duty Air Force, I was one of those veterans who was struggling. And I was struggling to the point that I didn't want to be here anymore. And I was going to the doctor, and I was going to the therapist, and I was following all of the treatment protocol that the clinical side had for me, and it wasn't working. And it wasn't working to the point where the doctor said, well, you're just treatment resistant. And if you can imagine being a person who really wants to heal and doing everything the textbook says, and then being told, well, there's no help for you, that didn't want to make me be alive anymore. And by the grace of God and serendipity, I happened to be living in Colorado on the Air Force Academy at the time, and they had a stable. And they primarily used Mustangs for their trail riding program. And so I went out there and they said, well, you should adopt a wild Mustang. And I said, well, I grew up showing Western pleasure. What the heck am I going to do with a wild Mustang? But, you know, what little young girl doesn't want a gentle wild horse, right? So somehow, long story short, I ended up in a corral with 50 yearlings. And one of them out of the crowd picked me. Her name's Shelby. She's 23 today. I still have her. Blame her for all of this. But what I realized in the process of gentling Shelby is that every day when I would go to see her, I would have to put myself in a very present state of mind. And through doing that day after day, I started to feel like I was more in control of my emotions. And when I was in more control of my emotions, my relationships got better. And I became more self-confident. And so through gentling Shelby, it really led me back to a path of being in charge of my life. And that changed everything for me. And I knew that I was probably the least special person on the planet. So if this could work for me, I thought it could work for many, many other people. And so after going through that experience, I dug into actually the science and the training, and I went and got certified, and I went and got my master's degree in psychology, and I took every training I could get my hands on. And so that led me to 2009, where I developed HOOVS, which stands for Healing of Our Veterans Equine Services. And since then, I've been able to take 800 veterans through a similar process so that they could find their own healing and go from being a victim of their history to a master of their destiny. And so that's really what we're dedicated to doing at HOOVS. And we do that now through a 5-day healing intensive format. So they are coming out to gentle the Mustangs, but we do have 11 Mustangs in our program that have been gentled. And I will say that there is, and if you've ever experienced time with a Mustang, there's just something different about their spirit than a domestic horse. And there's something about that level of being able to see into your soul and require a higher level of accountability out of you. So I know that sometimes Mustangs can get a bad rap, and I think it's because of that very case. And so one of the things that we really focus on in our program, and I like to say there's 3 types, there's basically 3 ways to train a horse, right? There's compliance-based horse training, make the right thing easy, the wrong thing difficult, pressure and release, right? That's a way that you can train a horse. There's also incentive-based training. So you can offer a food treat or some type of incentive reward, pets or scratches, and you can train a horse that way. But there's a 3rd type of training, and that's the training that we really focus on at HOOVS, and I like to call that connection-based horse training. And that's where before you ask anything of the horse, you learn how to get right with yourself. You learn how to get into that present moment. You learn how to get clear with your communication, and you learn how to regulate your nervous system and become a safe person. And a veteran or not, I think connection-based horsemanship transforms anybody's lives. So we do that at HOOVS. We do that through a 5-day experience. It's provided at no cost to the veterans. We fly them in from all over the country. We are privately funded, so we don't receive any government money. We are here strictly because of the generosity of people just like you. And right now, we're seeing an 89% reduction, a 98% reduction in suicidal ideation. So veterans come and they think about taking their lives every single day. And following, they say, suicide is not even an option. It's not even on the table anymore. And I know I'm getting slim on time, But I just want to share, so we also take, well, please don't call me to take your crazy wild Mustang, if you can, call Scott. We do take very high-risk Mustangs, and I put them through a rehabilitation process where I actually incorporate the herd. And the herd helps these violent, angry, shut-down Mustangs. But we had one in particular. He was probably the scariest, most violent horse I've ever seen. We got him rehabbed into our program. But we had a veteran show up that was very much like this horse. And he was so shut down. He wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid. He wasn't happy to be there. And so the first experience they have with these horses is they go out into the field and the horse actually has to pick them. So we don't force our horses to participate in anything. The horse has to come up and pick you. And Montana doesn't really participate that much. And for some reason he zeroed in on Louis. I have permission to share the story. And no people or horses wanted to be around him, and Montana was like, "You're mine." We take him into the arena, we give him some instructions, and he couldn't get Montana to participate at first, but he had Native American genes in his history, and he started to communicate with Montana in some Native American hand signals. And he totally cooperated, and by the end of their session, he was actually following him around without a halter or lead rope, and they were just completely connected, right? And I share this story because, you know, spending 5 days with a horse isn't going to make your life circumstance any different when you go back, right? But in order for us to open up to the possibility of healing, we have to get vulnerable. But we can't get vulnerable unless we can trust. And a lot of times we think that we have to trust other people to get vulnerable and heal, but we really have to trust ourselves first. And I believe that that's what the Mustang really does for us, is it helps us trust ourselves first so that we can start to let other people in again. So if you'd like to learn more, our booth is over there, Hooves, it's the one with the big tent. So I have hooves.us, but if you'd like to learn more about the style of training, I've also created the Equine Wisdom Institute, where I now teach other people how to do the work that we're doing at Hooves, and our website for that is just equinewisdominstitute.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. And I want to thank our riders who are out here being like so patient. And so take a minute and look at those Mustangs. They're just being asked to behave and just ride around for what's going to be an hour. Not arguing, not doing anything else. They're just cooperating, having a fun time. So thank you to my riders. So we move into Indiana, where we have Skye Epperson in the Mustang Adoption Academy, who's available as a Mustang expert to help you all. Anyone who needs help with their Mustangs can reach out and talk to Skye and Daniela about their program, and here they are.
Good afternoon. I'm Skye Epperson with the Mustang Adoption Academy. I thought I would tell you a little story to start off with. And it kind of relates how our Mustang Adoption Academy was born. I had been working with both domestic horses and Mustangs for a while at this point in time, and I had been contacted by someone to help a Mustang by the name of Crime. Crime should have been my first thought of, maybe I don't want to know Crime, but I'm kind of hard-headed, and I was like, Crime will be just like all the rest. And so I bring Crime in, and 45 days later, Crime is actually worse than what he was when I started with. And I was really struggling with this because I'd never had a horse that I couldn't help. And I sat down and I cried. And that horse was pinned because it was the first time and the only time I've never been able to help a horse. And at that point in time, as Mustang owners or Mustang adopters or Mustang professionals, we have a couple choices. One, discard the horse. Well, that's not an option, in my opinion. So I had to keep searching for a way to help Crime. And at that point in time, I was introduced to an evidence-based, science-based method to work with the horse. And after only 2 days of this introduction, I came back and I started working with Crime, a horse that I couldn't help. 7 days later, I have an entirely different horse because I started to work with the horse's brain, not my brain, but his brain and how that brain works. 35 days after that, 7 days, Crime went home to his adopter as a finished, or gentled Mustang, not a finished Mustang. And that got my brain thinking, you know, there's a whole bunch of people out there that have, and excuse my language, the oh shit moment when they bring home a Mustang. Like, what did I do? This horse doesn't act like my domestic horse that was born and raised on my property, or that has $5,000 worth of training on it when it came to me. And that's where the Mustang Adoption Academy was born, and brain-based horsemanship became a thing. And since then, we try to teach people and gentle Mustangs in a way that works with that horse's brain.
Did you say you're also a veterans program?
Yeah, we can talk about that too.
Man of many hats.
Yes. So we also we run a through brain-based horsemanship and doing demonstrations throughout with the Mustang Summit throughout the United States. We started to find out that our form of horsemanship also has a connection to the mental health world. I kept getting taps on the shoulder. Sky, you need to, come work with our program that helps people. And I kept going, I know the horse brain, but I don't know anything about the human brain, and nor do I want to. But finally, after many times of being tapped on that shoulder, I had a gentleman that adopted one of our Mustangs from Gateway Family Services in Danville, Illinois, and we were having a long talk about mental health and how the brain works and etc. And about an hour into that conversation, I looked at him and I said, "You're talking about people?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, I'm talking about horses." And he said, "Oh, I know. I just was waiting for you to catch up." And through that experience, we started to also kind of see the parallels of our veterans after service coming back and trying to step into the civilian world. And we have the Mustang trying to step into the domestic world, and how those two parallels and our brain-based horsemanship that really talks about tolerance levels and what brain chemistry is produced at those levels of tolerance, how those coincide. So we started matching veterans with Mustangs in our program, and we've had some great successes in helping both Mustangs and veterans.
You can find Sky over by our Mustang Summit booth. So this is kind of how the Mustang Summit came about, to bring all of these different people and therapies and training and showing and the stories together. And one of the most important stories to me is the story with Anna Maria Sims and her son Charlie. And so Anna Maria is what we call a Mustanger when we do our Mustang Summits. And so is Sky, and so is Bruce, and Amanda, and we have one more person. Oh, I know, Mary Miller Jordan's now going to be one of our Mustangers, so it's pretty exciting, and they gentle yearling Mustangs before we adopt them out. So Anna Maria and Charlie have gone through horses and healing with autism, and Charlie with Mustangs. So Anna Maria and Charlie are going to tell you a little bit about their story.
Hi, everybody. This is my son, Charles. My husband's up there, right there in the stands. We have another child, well, actually they're 23 and 20, that both rode for many, many years, diagnosed with autism. That didn't stop any of us because we knew that Charles and Mary could do anything, and that is exactly what they are doing every single day. So I started volunteering at the therapy center that they rode and fell in love with the horses, and all I wanted to do was groom, and then one day I just decided I was going to make a big career change, and I am now an equine body worker. I do service quite a few horses in Illinois and Wisconsin. I also am with Skye Epperson here in the pen when we go into adoption events. Charles, as you can see with the hat on his head, has fallen in love with the Mustangs. Charlie, do you want to tell them why you love the Mustangs?
They made our hearts feel heart and well-being, and they gave their lives up through the rainbows and the skies, and they made us feel proud and safe and sound.
And Mary's behind you.
Here's. So I will tell you that one thing that's really interesting, Charlie actually is a decorated rider through NSVA and AQHA. He is a Western Pleasure champion. My daughter also rode in shows. One of the most amazing things for me when I work on bodies is being able to give back. So when I realized how much the horses in the therapy program are using their bodies to help people get stronger, some horses actually have the gaits to help children strengthen their upper core, which helps them speak better. And now I have two very, very talkative, wonderful kids. One thing that I want to get the message across to everybody is that one of the reasons why we work as a team, me and Skye, is because what we've realized is that horses' bodies are their, it's their focal point. That's how they move. It's how it's first body before their brain. So if a horse is in pain, they're going to have a really hard time concentrating and doing things. And I think we all go through that as well. But that was starting to show more and more as we were talking. We realized that every time we would heal a part of the body, Skye could get further along with the horses. And so this here is an example of how when you take someone who has what we call unique gifts and some special needs, right?
Yeah.
They can teach us how to heal. Charlie and horses are the most, what's the best way, inspiring thing for you to watch. He loves them, he cares for them, protects them, loves to be near them, but what's most important is that he recognizes that they sacrifice for him just as much as he would sacrifice for them. And that is the beautiful balance that we see with horses and humans. There's nothing that they can't do as a team, right, Charlie? Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell them any more things before we move on?
I like the horses. Trotting and walking was the best of all, but no worries, and they given well, proving to my great family and friends of all the times around worlds. Ain't no doubt about those animals. They were well-caring and well-being, 'cause they only prove the well-being person of all time.
Well, Charlie basically believes that the horses are on this earth for us and we're on the earth for them, and that we have to team up as one so that we can help not only heal ourselves, but heal all the people around us. Thank you, guys.
So now we're going to move into, thank you, Charlie. And Mary brought magic up to bring a little magic to that moment with Charlie. So thank you very much, Mary. So now we have one of my very favorite people in the entire world is Julianne Neal. And I wrote Julianne Neal into a little journey maybe 3.5 years ago when we had a young lady, Lisanne Fear, call me up and ask me if I would help her and her Mustangs travel across the United States. They rode from Delaware to California over 14 months. It was a grueling, inspiring, unbelievable journey. And through the country, as we went across the United States, all of these people were found and partnered up together, and That's how we found Sky. Imagine that. And Amanda, who ended up, after the ride, going back to California and picking up a trailer load of Mustangs and bringing them back. And Ann helping us along the way. So, and Matt, I mean, it was just, of course, there's a documentary in the works. And Julianne has the Mustang Story series that she's going to be sharing. You can watch some of it. She'll tell you about that. But I'm going to let Julianne tell you about their work with Mustangs.
Thank you, Lisa. And you know, every time we come to one of these, I start by talking about Lisanne because we wouldn't have a Mustang Summit if that ride hadn't happened. But we also wouldn't have any of this partnership, these collaborations. I don't know if y'all realize how special it is for the key people in these organizations to come together with the same vision, and that is the power of the horse. And so, was anybody inspired by any of the stories that you just heard? Give me a show of hands. Inspiration, right? Because to us, we call it a Mustang story. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. But change your story, change your life. Because we believe firmly in the power of story. And so that's why we're with the Equus Film and Arts Festival, because through film and art, we can get across things to people that they may not have the opportunity to see or to share in person. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that my partner Bruce Anderson and I are doing through a program we call Wellness Through Mustangs. We're located in Camden, South Carolina, and we have a nonprofit that's been in existence for 15 years, the Marley Project. But we just, because of the ride, because of the Mustang Discovery Ride and the film festival, did a deep dive into Mustangs. And Bruce will tell you, if you had a chance to speak with Bruce while we've been here, he's going to talk. He's a storyteller himself, so please take the opportunity to come by the booth and hear a little bit about his story with horses, and especially with Mustangs. But he came in as a tip trainer, which was a program a couple of years ago, and we just started with one. And we don't have a big setup. We have the space for one or two, horses in training or whatever. And so he told everybody in the Mustang community and our community, I can't bring in 15 Mustangs or 20 or 30, but with one, I'm gonna make a difference. And so that one Mustang, Congaree, changed his philosophy, changed our programming, changed everything we do. So the power of just one horse can really make a difference. And so through our Wellness Through Mustangs program, we work a lot with youth. I'm a former educator and arts coordinator for a school district, and so a lot of what we do is education-based and arts-based, and it's for K-12 standards-based education. So I'm very proud, I'll tell you about our book in just a second, but very proud to include the arts and arts integration in a lot of what we do with horses, because that experiential programming is so important. And so we were certified initially through law enforcement, South Carolina Department of Criminal Justice. We have had programs with first responders and police officers coming for recertification, and in bringing the Mustangs into that, it just brings a more powerful piece to that puzzle. Bruce, Lisa mentioned, is a Mustanger, and so that means that when the yearlings come in, we have the opportunity for him to be one of these phenomenal people who works with the babies and then helps find the appropriate home. So one of our big partners in South Carolina is the Seabrook Island Equestrian Center, and they knew immediately when Bruce brought in a gray filly through the Mustang Summit that they had to be part of all of this. And so Sapphire Sky, if you look her up on Instagram, Facebook, social media, is the island princess. She came from, what was it, not Twin Peaks, Clan Alpine. She was a Clan Alpine baby, and so she went from mountain princess to island queen, is I think what they say. But through their work with youth, we're working with them in hand. It's been really, really inspirational. Our little Mustang Congaree just became the star of a book series, Adopted by a Mustang. And when we started trying to tell his story, we knew that the adoption piece was important, and it was important to me because as a baby I was adopted. And so being able to reach out to children who may go through foster care, who maybe are having other issues like that, we wanted to be able to incorporate some of that story into something that would be special and meaningful for them as well. So Congaree, the little black Mustang from Arapahoe Creek, comes with activities that are also standards-based education, but coloring pages, just things for a young person to learn how to read a freeze brand, for example, how to tell how far it is on that map to get from one side of the HMA to the other. And so all of those things to bring the Mustang world to a young audience. So it's for the young and the young at heart, we say. So I'm very proud of the work that we're doing in South Carolina, and I hope that you'll come and talk to us a little bit about that. But I want to also come back to a Mustang story, because if you were inspired by these stories, raise your hand again, folks, if you were part of the Mustang Discovery Ride, or know Lisanne, or I was going to say, Ann Souders, you better have your hand way up there, because this lady is one of the people who was in the beginning telling Lisanne, you need to do this. And so again, teamwork makes the dream work is what Lisa always says. But because of Ann putting that spark into Lisanne, it started. Because of an introduction from Trudy Midas, Lisa Dearson came into the fest or into the picture. Became the executive director, got her across the ride. Because of this lady sitting on the second row, Claudia, would you stand up? This is one of those moments that you cannot predict will happen, and she's going to cry, and so am I. You can't predict that you're going to meet somebody in a random thing, like an event like today, but Claudia just happened to be in a place that Lisanne was. Lisanne needed somebody to go along with her. This is a girl who rode across the country, a lot of times alone, with her 5 Mustangs sometimes, Molly Mustang, and she was literally knocking on doors saying, can I sleep in your yard tonight? And so Claudia left home and went on the road with her for how many months? 3 months, then went home to check on family, and then 3 more months at the end. So to just pick up and ride across the country on a Mustang, I mean, it's nuts. And what I don't think people understand, we have warm bloods and Shires and all these horses. I couldn't do with my horses what Lisanne did. I watched her ride down the highway with semi-trucks flying by, leaping up and down, rock hills and that sort of thing. So they were amazing. Anyway, all of that is to say that A Mustang Story is the docu-series that follows the stories of these people and others who are working with Mustangs every day and showcasing the programs that they do. So the first 4 episodes are out. It's on a YouTube channel called A Mustang Story, and so you can learn about Lisanne, you can learn about the Mustang Summit, you can learn about Sky Epperson and Anna Maria Sims, and a project called The Mustang Speaks, and you can learn about Bruce Anderson, Natural Humanship, and Congaree. So I want everybody to say thank you to Lisa, because I don't think we can all even imagine where we would be without her and her support.
And yes, this is teamwork makes the dream work. And we're doing a little partnering with a new organization. I don't know if you all know what an Iberian horse is, but your American Mustang is an Iberian horse. There's actually close to 50 other different breeds, from all the way from Machadorians, Marsh Tackies, Chincoteague ponies that are Iberian horses. And we're having a partnership with the Eastern Region Andalusian Horse Club with Susan Hart that is going to allow these American Mustangs to be recognized in an open Iberian breed category. That's never happened anywhere else before in the world. So Susan can tell you just a tiny little bit, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, everyone. If you go back in time and imagine the royal horses of Spain and Portugal, the king of horses, and the Spanish conquistadors that are brave enough to travel over the ocean with these horses, and the bravery that they had and the endurance. These are our American royalty horses, and our organization wants to create that link of those proud foundational breeds with our American Iberian. And we're just so proud to be the newest piece in this team. And I want to thank you, Lisa, and all of you. I feel very honored.
Thank you. Thank you. It's going to be a fun adventure for all our Mustang owners. So thank you guys for listening. I know this has been a little bit of a long presentation, but look at these Mustangs. They're just doing their thing. Does anybody have any questions for our team members up here? Because yes, teamwork is making a dream work with this group. Any questions in the audience? Yes, ma'am. So she has a Mustang that's adopted. This is, I think, a Matt question, because she wants to do not a makeover. There's no makeovers. She wants to get it reassigned. So this is a Heather question.
Right, so you need to be able to get that title to that animal, and you're right. It is a reassignment paperwork process. You need to get a hold of your BLM Office of Jurisdiction, and I can help you with that over there, but it's a simple $25 fee, and then we'll reassign the paperwork so that you can get the title.
I would like to thank you all. You can come by our booths and see us and visit us. And thank you to our amazing Mustangs out there. Yay, you guys did a wonderful job. So thank you again, and we will see you at the booth and more demos tomorrow.
Oh, I know. I love it about her, but I love more just who she is. Yes. I mean, whatever color she was, it's just who she is. She says, here's my camera. Thank you. Did I give you?
Thanks, I bought baby. Can't help it. Look at you go. You were so impressive. Look at your mommy.
This was such a wonderful opportunity to be out here and just, we're doing clinics this weekend, which is amazing, but just to be able to be present with her and not think about anything but her is really special. Because that's really, she doesn't really love for me to do clinics. She's like, why are you talking to them? This is about me. I'm like, well, you're right, it is about you.
You're at 9 tomorrow, is that right?
Finally, we're at 11 tomorrow. We've been at 9 for the past 2 days, and we're out there and the rod's covered, so it's like freezing. But we've had a nice little group that's braved the weather with us. But yeah, tomorrow we're out there again, but it'll be at 11, so it'll be a little warmer by then.
Bruce tried to come this morning, and it was very cold.
I know. I don't blame you. It's okay. It's totally
Hey, bud, thank you for supporting me for that speech, buddy.
She wanted to be there. She stood there so easy and just was there. And then when you were done, she left. She was like, okay, he's finished. He's finished. We move on now. I said, okay, that's what you said. That's what we'll do.
It was really helpful and romantic, buddy.
I'm so grateful. It was our pleasure.
Stay with us here in the Voinovich Arena. In less than 5 minutes' time, we'll have a brief demonstration on Andalusians.